Today, students, we're going to learn about Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, also known as FDR.
The cranky Professor Marley!
Okay, class, let's begin today's lesson about Franklin Roosevelt with a little background on his presidency. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR, became president in 1933, in the middle of the Great Depression. The Great Depression was a time when the economy collapsed, causing widespread unemployment and poverty both in the United States and around the world. Many people couldn't find work and struggled to afford homes and even food. To try to speed up a recovery, FDR championed the New Deal, which provided a boost to the economy and helped to bring people back out of poverty.
Professor Marley, did anything else happen when FDR was president?
Well, I'll tell you, Fenway. FDR was also president when Pearl Harbor was attacked by Japan, bringing the United States into World War II. After the attack, he gave one of the most important speeches in our history, saying that the attack would be a day that will live in infamy. Even today, we still commemorate December 7th, the day of the attack, here in the United States. There are many other amazing facts about FDR. He was the only president to be elected to serve 4 terms as president, something which is now prohibited by the 22nd Amendment. To learn more about FDR, let's go on a field trip to the FDR Memorial.
Professor, while we're driving, can you tell us some more about FDR?
Of course! There's so much more to know about this great man. FDR was married to a woman named Eleanor Roosevelt, who dedicated much of her life to women's rights, civil rights, human rights, and the betterment of humanity, including for refugees. She was widely credited with drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which defines the rights and freedoms that all people deserve, regardless of where they come from or what they look like. We can learn more about human rights during another class. Well, here we are, at the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial in Washington, D.C. Let's go look around and learn more.
Professor, is that FDR there in the wheelchair?
Yes, it is, Fenway. Many of our presidents have had to use a wheelchair or a cane for assistance with walking or standing. While FDR could walk short distances with assistance and stand to deliver speeches, he used a wheelchair most of the time due to an illness he suffered when he was younger.
Professor Marley, can you tell us if FDR had any dogs? Maybe even he had a doodle like me?
Well, Fenway, funny you should ask. FDR was an avid dog lover, and while he never had a doodle like you, he had many dogs during his life, including Major, a German Shepherd, 2 Scottish Terriers named Meggie and Fala, a sheepdog named Tiny, who was actually enormous, and a Great Dane named President, who actually belonged to his son, Franklin Jr. He went everywhere with his dogs, and there are so many stories of the adventures they had and the people they met.
Can you tell us about some of the adventures as we walk around the memorial?
Of course! One good story involved his dog Major. Major was given to FDR when he was the governor of New York, a gift from the New York State Police. Having previously been a police dog, hence the name Major, he was very protective of his new family and didn't really want anyone to get too close to them. On one occasion, it was reported that Major nipped the hand of someone who reached through the fence at the White House while trying to pet the German Shepherd. Major was very protective of FDR inside the White House as well. In one well-publicized incident, Major became very unhappy with British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald, who was visiting the White House in what was the first official state visit for FDR in 1933. When MacDonald did something to make Major suspicious, the dog leapt at him and bit him right in the behind, ripping the seat right off the Prime Minister's pants. It must have been quite the sight to see, and the White House staff were forced to find a replacement pair of pants so the Prime Minister could leave the White House wearing a full set of clothes.
Are there any other interesting things about Major?
In fact, Fenway, there is one more interesting fact. Do you know who else has a German Shepherd named Major?
Who?
Our current president, President Joe Biden.
Wow, that's really cool. Did FDR have one dog that was his favorite?
Well, Fenway, while FDR loved all of his dogs equally, he did seem to become closest with one of his terriers, Fala, who was the last dog he had before he died. Though his original name was Big Boy, FDR renamed Fala to the much longer name Murray the Outlaw of Fala Hill, or Fala for short. Fala went all over the world with FDR, traveling on ships, trains, and cars, always right by his side. FDR even once gave a speech during his last campaign when he mentioned Fala, because his political opponents had said that FDR was wasting money by bringing Fala with him on foreign trips. During his speech, he said that he can accept his enemies saying bad things about him, but, he said, after saying these things about his dog, Fala has not been the same dog since. This speech has widely become known as the Fala speech.
Wait, Professor, I seem to remember there's another president with the name Roosevelt, right?
Why, yes, Fenway, there was. President Teddy Roosevelt was the 26th president from 1901 to 1909. While they weren't father and son, they were somewhat distantly related as fifth cousins. But they sure do share a famous last name. Well, that's all the time we have today, class.
Aww.
Now, you can always learn more about FDR on your own by visiting the Memorial Bookstore or spending some time at the FDR Presidential Library and Museum in Hyde Park, New York. Enjoy the rest of your day, class, and remember, subscribe to the Doodle Brothers for more exciting videos.